Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be creating a real 80s vibe using lots and lots of neon with the new Dina Wakley release from Ranger Ink. So I'm just going in my black Dina Wakley journal and adding a little bit of gesso to my page just to seal the paper a little bit. So this is the cotton watercolor pages, and while it's great to work on, stuff does seep into it a little bit. So I wanted to make sure that everything was sitting on the surface. So that's why I have gessoed my surface. The collage papers here you can see are a new release from Dina, which are all these cool grid patterns. It really appeals to the teacher in me because they're sort of all Cartesian planes, hundreds charts, isometric drawing papers, helps you do 3D drawings. There's some handwriting papers, but on this page I just want to stick to grids because it just really reminded me sort of 80s, you know, the patterns you got in the background and all sorts. You can see it's not very straight as I've put it on, which I'm sure would be bugging a lot of people, but I just like the sort of randomness of it in the background. So now I'm going in, and this is going to be very disco ball-esque because I'm using all these really great circles, and these are new stencils called coasters from Dina Wakley in the set of 4. So my idea was I was going to draw out around the coasters and then use the patterns within. Now, those of you who follow my channel for a while know I love using neons. They're one of my favorite things to use. And if you've seen me use neons in the past before, I often talk about how they are like putting a filter on your page. So it just really boosts the color that you've got on your page. So I wanted to sort of experiment with that, and I wanted to sort of overlay some colors. So what I'm doing is starting off with the pastel shades of the colors of the neon. So there's a orange, pink, blue, purple, green, and yellow. I didn't have a pale yellow. I probably should have mixed a little bit of white in that, so it sort of sat in the same color scheme as everything else. And then what I wanted to do was to pop a slightly contrasting darker color over the top. So in the mineral I've put sky blue, in the green I'll put the lime, in the purple I'll put a purple, and so on and so forth, just to get a bit of contrast on my page. So I'm just building up these layers, and this is me just experimenting. So this is the first time I opened the new paints, so I wanted to see how they sat over the other colors. So obviously I know these regular colors of Dina Wakley paints sit beautifully over each other. I just wanted to see how the others would fit. One thing that I did notice when I've been using the new neon colors is they're a lot thicker than some other neons I've used in the past. So neons are very transparent, see-through. These ones still have that quality, but they're a little bit more opaque, which I really, really love. So it just gives you a few more things that you can do with the product, which I'm really enjoying. So you can sort of see how these coasters are looking. I've got a bit of an issue with my stenciling in the middle pink circle, just because I was sort of going over the gutter of the page. It sort of blended a little bit, but I've got this happening in the background. So I was quite liking how it was going. I like the new stencils, and here are the new neons. Don't they look pretty? So you can see as soon as I put the color over the top, how it just boosts the color. I tend to use my fingers a lot when I'm using neons, just because one, I really like the texture, and two, I find it spreads out easier. I like how it looks. A whole heap of reasons. There's absolutely no reason why you have to use fingers. You don't use a brush. This is just me. It's the way I've applied neon paints before, and that's how I'm doing it now. So what you can see is by having that color underneath, it's just sort of really boosted the color. You can still see the stenciling, you'll see that in the close-up. But those colors are just really, really boosted and sort of get that filtery look. And I really like how they stand out against the white background as well with the grid in it. So you've just got this really bright pop of colour, very, very 80s. Just to tie it all together a little bit, I've spritzed on some of the black, or splattered it, sorry, not spritzed, just to sort of tie in some of that black, from the background, and make sure it's sort of all going together. And then I decided I wanted to have a border on it just to really frame up my page. Now, this wasn't the best pen to use. I should have used my paint pen. This is just a regular permanent marker, but I'm just putting a really, really thin black border on it because it had that grid in the background. I just wanted something to frame off the page a little bit and make it look complete. So just using basically the width of the pen to create my little border on this page. Once I've done that, I wanted to tie it all together, so I wanted to put a quote across it, and because I was just so excited I was using NEONS, that's what I decided to write about. So NEONS, neon is life, is what I decided to use with my stencil. So as I said before when I was doing this, I'm first going in with a layer of white. So just to get the true colour of my neons that I'm going to layer over the top, I want to make sure that it's got a good base to sit over. Making sure that's already dry, so I've just used my gesso to do that. Now, unfortunately, because I'm a twit, I did actually end up using the same sponge that I used before, which obviously had the white paint on it, and it didn't quite go the true colour it should have. So I would highly suggest, if you are doing this at home, learn from my mistakes and actually just get a clean sponge and and sponge over it. But you can see how much it's picking up as you go along. So really, really easy, especially with this chunky alphabet, that you can go over and line it up and make it really pop out. The other thing is with doing this, I'm just mixing up the colours a little bit. So obviously you could just use one colour, but because I was getting carried away with all my colours, I wanted to make sure that I was using all of them. So trying to work out the pattern of how it all worked together to make sure that I covered all the colours and they all stood out. Once I dried off the colours and used up all the excess paint I had on my page, which will be another fun background to use one day, I'm going around all the letters with my black pen, again just to frame them, to tie in that black and to really make them pop from the page. So particularly sort of that, like that E where it went off the side of the circle, just to make sure it's nice and framed and we can see where it is on my page. Depending on what you want to do, obviously I'm using black, but you could use any colour to frame this. I'm using quite a fine pen, but you could use quite a chunky pen to make it all come together. So it's as simple as that. So this really is just playing around with the colours, the new colours, and having a go with it to see how they work and what sort of I wanted to do with them. And it was so much fun. It's just bright, it's easy, make a cool scrapbooking page too, you can stick a photo on it. So there's lots you could do with that background, really, really simple. So I hope you enjoyed this. Have a go at doing it at home, and until next time, bye for now.